May he, by his manner of being and speaking, embody and exemplify to all Jamaicans conduct that is upright and wholesome. Adorn his life with the virtues of honesty, decency, integrity, respect, and commitment to country. In difficult times when he is tested, give him a spirit of restraint and graciousness. Save him from the temptation to seek power at all cost and to engage in cheap, divisive rhetoric.
Oh dear. Doesn't seem as if that prayer had any impression on him at all. He's at it always. It's all about money, Reverend. All about the money. Anyway, folks, let me welcome you all to Jamaica 411. Thank you so much for joining me today. I would like to say a special shout out to my subscribers. Welcome back. Always lovely to have you and reading your comments. So please, guys, keep the comments going. To my first time subscribers, I want to thank you for subscribing. And I hope you will find the truth that I know you came to Jamaica 411 to seek. And of course, I want to also big up my silent listeners. I want to thank you all for supporting the channel and for giving me thumbs up whenever I ask. Yes, it's so obliging to see you all giving the thumbs up, especially when the video just starts. That is when I am most active. Yes, I'm there, answering all the comments that come in. At that point, when the video gets a little later on, when I'm in the throes of researching or making another video, I may not get at those comments that come later on, but every now and then I do. So I want to thank you all for your support and the comments that you make, for liking, sharing, and subscribing. Yes. So I know you're going to go ahead and give the video a thumbs up from now on, please. Please do. Yes, you did. Great. All right, so let me thank you all in advance for giving the video a thumbs up and sharing. And now that those preliminaries are out of the way, let's get down to business. What is business about today? Well, I won't tell you. I'll just let you listen. And then I'll pop in every now and then to drop in my words, or I'll come at the end and say my piece.
Whew, Tona. We've been reporting a particular story since last week concerning the Integrity Commission and some changes, some staff changes. And then on Friday we reported that letter that Ed Bartlett and Kamina Johnson-Smith wrote jointly to the chairman of the Integrity Commission, retired Justice Carl Lawrence Beswick, and which they copied to the Governor General. There are many ways I could approach this conversation this morning, but I'm just going to take it purely from the reporting side. To tell the listeners that often we say in media that we can't report the full story based on what we know. Tana knows that when I repeat that thing this morning, that statement this morning, she knows exactly what I'm talking about. Because listeners, what we in this organization know about the motivation behind some of the changes and how certain people at the Integrity Commission came to no longer be at the Integrity Commission. It makes the heart bleed
So let me pause here, and from time to time, do forgive me, I will pause the video to make some comments because George is speaking in some serious parables here. So we have to take them into small doses and analyze them to see what, if anything, we can make of them. So he said, what we in this organization know, he said, know about the motivation behind some of the changes and how certain people at the Integrity Commission came to no longer be at the Integrity Commission. It makes the heart bleed. So we're going to take it a line at a time, and we're going to look at the first line. What we in this organization know. That word know does not mean speculate. It doesn't mean them guessing. It doesn't mean that they make it up. Knowledge has a specific meaning. And what it means for them to know is not that some alligator inside of the Integrity Commission told them something, went down to the river bottom and came up and said, shark down there. No, that is not knowledge. That is hearsay. So when they say they know, that would suggest that they have evidence, but the evidence is not sufficient to go to court, or the evidence would expose the person who provided the information in the first place. Which one is it? Is it that they can't say because there is not sufficient evidence that they know that can go to court if they are sued? Or is it that the evidence that they have in writing perhaps would expose the person who gave it to them in the first place? Now, for that answer, we have to listen further to George to hear whether he did tell us which is correct or whether something else is correct.
It is a heavy thing that we have custody of. Makes me feel almost kind of like when they gave a Smeagol the ring in Lord of the Ring and he transformed into Gollum because the ring just corrupted him, because the ring was just, that burden of the burden of what we have, which we can't report. And here's why we can't report it. It's not that we don't trust our sources. And trust us, in this case, the trust couldn't be more, the source couldn't be more impeccable.
It is a heavy thing that we have custody of. Custody means it's something in their possession. And then he went on to say, trust me, the source could not be more impeccable. Meaning to say that a serious thing we're talking about here, very serious, and I will not elaborate on it, but you guys, you can guess what it is that they have in their possession. Yes, fairly so, and you'll be accurate, because we at Jamaica 411, we are very bright people. Yes, ma'am. Let's continue to listen.
But there are times when you can't use certain things because you will not be able to, if you are challenged, bring forward certain information, because that will have too many implications for the persons who have generously given you information, insight into what is really happening behind the scenes. And we here at Nationwide, we know very well how, in the event of a big story that we report, something of significant public interest, that you get from credible sources, people of impeccable character, people in the fray, and then when it comes to the test, you're left alone like a jilted bride or groom at the altar. Significant other run gone because they must say, boy, listen, I can't stand with you in this case now because it's going to mash up my career and my life and so forth, so forth. So, you're there on your own.
Now, at this point, it appears as though he is given the impression that whatever information that they have in their possession, you would need somebody to verify that information in a court. Remember, you may have documents, but you can't just carry the documents to the court. You have to have somebody verifying the accuracy or verifying what is in the document, if it's a document. And if such persons were to back out, then that will leave them high and dry. But if a document was passed to them and the person whose name appears on the document as signatory to the document, they're called before the court. They'll be called before the court under subpoena, I suppose, and they would have to verify whether that is their signature and whether or not that which is in the letter was in fact written by them or on their behalf. So he is talking about, it would seem, that he may be in a position that were the matter to go to court, his source would be exposed, or they would have to expose who the sources were in order to defend themselves. They're not willing to do that. And even if they ask the source to come and verify the information, the source ain't going to do that because their job will be on the line. That's what he's saying. But let us listen. Maybe he'll reveal some more about that, will give us some more clues.
We know what that feels like. So it is a thing that has, for the whole of last week, it has weighed heavily on me. Because even as we report to you what we know, we have to be tiptoeing. Not because you're afraid of people. No, man, it's not that in that context, but it's a sensible perspective. Because, listeners, viewers, if I could tell you, you would agree. Say, all right, I see why you do what you do. Yeah? But it just shows you how organized and coordinated certain actions are to achieve a certain outcome.
But it just shows you how organized and coordinated certain actions are to achieve a certain outcome. Actions. So what were the actions that were taken? Well, Prince Kamika was told in a meeting, based on what it is that Nationwide is saying, on March 13, 2025, just 11 days before she was due to be reappointed by the Governor General, 11 days before, somebody met with her. If it was not the commission that she was before, then the only other person who could have met with her was Greg Christie, the executive director of the Integrity Commission, and told her, the commission has decided that you will not be recommended for reappointment to the Governor General. She then decided she was going to proceed on leave, or they instructed her to proceed on leave. One or the other took place. This is tantamount to a dismissal. Nevertheless, now that the position became vacant, as a matter of fact, the position did not become vacant until March 24. Nationwide News Network reported that Roneve Lawrence was placed in her position to act on her behalf because she was absent before her time was up. Now, under the law, whenever there is a vacancy with one of the directors, it is the executive director, who happens to be Greg Christie, who recommends somebody to the commission for appointment. And then according to the law, it is the commission that appoints the individual to act in the position of director for 90 days. In other words, this process does not involve the Governor General at all. In normal circumstances where someone is to be appointed, it is the Governor General who does the appointment, but not in the case where there's a vacancy for a director. It is the Commission who does the appointment, but just for 90 days. I am wondering if that was what George meant when he said, but it just shows you how organized and coordinated certain actions are to achieve a certain outcome. In order to understand this parable, this puzzle that was put out by George, we first have to determine what the action would be and what the outcome would be. Two separate things. The actions that took place was that Kamika was effectively dismissed from her position. The second action was that Ronif Lawrence was made to replace her. My understanding of that, which is what George is probably saying, is that Ronif Lawrence is put there in order to do something. And that something, it appears, is supposed to bring about the certain outcome. What is that something? And what outcome is expected to be achieved? We don't know, but we'll continue to listen to see if George will give us any further clues.
And subsequent developments to us coming into contact with the information from which we shared some things with you earlier in the week have proven to me, not speaking for anybody else, that the assumptions I had about the whole scheme are dead on correct. And we're in trouble as a country. We're in trouble as a country if the quest for power causes men and women to ignore decency, to forget their humanity, and say, power, cost it what it will. So I don't want you to feel as if we don't know what's happening.
So there you have it. The clue. Did you get it? I'm sure you all did. Let's play that clue again.
We're in trouble as a country if the quest for power, to forget their humanity and say, power, cost it what it will. Power, cost it what it will.
There you go. So Mas George said that's the best that he could do. Can't tell us the information that he received. Can't tell us the nature of the information. But he can give us a certain hint or two. When he started, he referred to what he knew as a scheme. We often use some words so regularly that we think we know exactly what they mean. But sometimes when we look into the actual meaning, it is sometimes deeper than we've imagined. So let me repeat what George had said. He said, subsequent developments to us coming into contact with the information. Subsequent means after. So after they came into contact with the information that they have, from which we shared some things with you earlier in the week. So what they told us in the week, they told us that Kamika had a meeting with a high-level officer, I suppose, in the Integrity Commission. We figured that person was Greg Christie because he, after all, is the executive director. who sits on the commission with the commissioners. So any message or any instructions that they have to give those officers below them would come either directly from themselves or through him. So that's our conclusion. That meeting took place on the 13th of March, which was a Thursday, 2025, 11 days before her tenure would expire as Director of Corruption Prosecution. And we are talking about now Prince Kamika, Keisha Prince Kamika. What else did George say? George said that persons in the Integrity Commission told them that she may have paid the price because she made certain decisions that there are persons there in the Integrity Commission did not like. And that had to do with her not going ahead and prosecuting the Prime Minister as was recommended by the investigator, Director of Investigation. So that was what Nationwide revealed, evidently from the information that they received. What else did they tell us? That Prince Kamika was not told the reason why she was being effectively dismissed, and that a letter was swiftly sent off to the Governor General advising him that Prince Kamika will not be recommended for reappointment. Those are the bits and pieces of information that we got. So George went on to say that the information that they came in contact with, there were certain developments that took place. And he said, these events have proven to me that the assumptions I had about the whole scheme are dead on correct. Now, scheme, let's not take it for granted. Let us look at the meaning of that word. On the screen, it says a scheme is a large-scale systematic plan or arrangement for attaining a particular objective or putting a particular idea into effect. You're talking about here, it seems to me, a conspiracy that involved Keisha Prince Kamika, the former Director of Corruption Prosecution. A large scale, meaning to say, is not one and two people involved. It is a systematic, a large scale, systematic plan or arrangement for attaining a particular objective or putting a particular idea into effect. There are a group of people, this would suggest, that are working together to attain a certain objective. Right? That's what he's saying. You have not one and two people, not Greg Christie, not Kevin Stevenson, not the commissioners, not one and two people. It is a grand scheme, a large-scale systematic plan. What does that word systematic mean? That word systematic is an adjective, and it says done or acting according to a fixed plan or system. It's methodical. You heard that? This scheme is not just them sit down and say, all right, make we get rid of Kamika. They had step-by-step plan for how they were going to accomplish it. So when I told you in my previous video that the removal of Prince Kamika was not just so, that it was something that was well thought out and planned using the very laws. Timely too. Because had they removed Prince Kamika at the time when she first reapplied for reappointment, that would have been about 6 months before her tenure expired, March 24. So we're talking about September. Sometime in September, she would have written to the commission and told them that she was interested in continuing and asked that they consider reappointing her to the position. Not a word was said to her at that time. So she was under the impression that she would have been reappointed, except they never gave her any word either, because notice that it was said by Nationwide that the letter that was sent to the Governor General informed him that she would not be considered for reappointment, as if to suggest that they did not write to the Governor General when she reapplied in September of last year to say that, there is this application and they accept it, so go ahead and reappoint. It would have been too early, I imagine. So they must have given themselves some time. However, if it was their intention to replace her, then they would have started looking from before her contract expired. Instead, there was a last minute thing. They were replacing her before her tenure was up, which meant that the position became vacant. And when it became vacant, the person now who would do the selection would not have been the commissioners, but instead Greg Christie, who the law says is the one who's supposed to make that selection of the candidate who is going to replace Keisha Prince Kamika, and having made the selection, recommend that person to the commission. That is according to Section 30, subsection 8 of the Integrity Commission Act. And that very same subsection gives the power to the commissioners to make the appointment of that replacement to act in the position for 90 days until there is a replacement. So the Governor General does not come into that at all. Are you seeing where this is going? And this arrangement and this activity which took place within the Integrity Commission is what George was referring to, it seems to me, as a scheme, a large-scale systematic plan or arrangement for attaining a particular objective or putting a particular idea into effect. And that idea was to remove Prince Kamika, and I am coming to the conclusion that what the real objective is to have somebody there that they can rely on, would go back and look at the decisions that Prince Kamika made pertaining to wholeness, claim that there are now new evidence, or they're taking a fresh look at the ruling, and then reverse that decision not to prosecute and go and put out a letter informing the public that the acting director of corruption prosecution, who I would assume would have the same power as the director of corruption prosecution, he is now going to make a ruling which will then be tabled in the parliament that he is going to go ahead and prosecute Andrew Holness. And who it is that George is hinting is behind it?
In difficult times when he is tested, give him a spirit of restraint and graciousness. Save him from the temptation to seek power at all cost and to engage in cheap, divisive rhetoric.
We're in trouble as a country if the quest for power causes men and women to ignore decency, to forget their humanity, and say, power, cost it what it will. So I don't want you to feel as if we don't know what's happening. We do. And one day in the future, I don't know when, I'd love for you to know the full extent of what we know. I mean, know someone out there say, Lord God, George, are talking a parable, but it's the best I can do. It's the best I can do under the circumstances. Because if we, Tana, I said to myself, if I had the finances of, say, like, if I was rotten rich, I still wouldn't take the risk of, because it's not just me, it's the other people involved who would be damaged, potentially. So I said to myself, we are, as a country, caught in a situation where the fight for Jamaica, the dog fight for Jamaica, well, it makes no sense to say it's intense, because it's a dog fight. It's rough. And people will stop at nothing. And let me tell you this. The one thing that has emerged from this, there are some people who you've heard me say in this chair that, gentlemen of integrity and this of integrity. You will never hear me say that again. There are some people in this country, a couple gentlemen especially, well, 4 of them, based on what we know, you will never hear me. I don't know about anybody else here. Each commentator is under their own steam. But you will never hear me make the mistake of calling those gentlemen's names and integrity in the same sentence. Because we know what we're up to. We know what you've done. We know what you're doing. And a journalist's life is hard. Because for the story and to get things out, I mean, you could have shut your hands and report it in the business world. You can't do that. It's not about you. Other people, their families, their reputations, their professional prospects, you damage those if you act a certain way. And this is one of those situations. This, in fact, listen, I've not been here long as a journalist, I've been here, June is going to make 20 years. 20 years straight out of university into this vocation, yeah? In my 20 years, I've never had to deal with a matter like this. And I thought I had dealt with everything up to this point. But this one is new, where you have the information. The source can't be more impeccable, but you can't report what the source says. But at least, my granny always say, the greatest thing is to know. And we know. And there are some of you, I'm not afraid to sleep at night time, because I'm afraid that I'm not going to wake up. But Master God no work, so. But anyway, on the beating going sweet.
I beg on a call Peter Murcott Bunting for me, please. Yes, please, if you know that fellow, on friendly terms with him, send it to him. Because not only is it that George knows Peter, that it is you who must be behind this. You are the one, after all, is the master manipulator, an admirer of Niccolo Machiavelli. Yes, George says that he knows what's going on. And you must send that message too. But we would also like you to know, Mas Peter, that we in the resistance spotted it, and we did not need to have any documented evidence of it. The instant we saw the way the thing played out, we know that that looks like something that would have come out of the sick mind and the power-hungry mind of Peter Bunting. You spend a whole heap of money, $1.6 billion. Me sympathetic to you, yes. $1.6 billion, and you're going to lose every penny of it. Get used to it. We suspected that you were behind the whole thing. Get rid of Prince Kamika because there's no way you're going to get a conviction. Don't even bother look to the idea of bringing any other case or any new matter. Don't take too long to investigate, and it's only 6 months to the election. I have to tell you, it was a brilliant plan and a great piece of execution. This is a master at work. An imbecile, but a master nonetheless. Kudos to you, sir, and congratulations. Your mastery at manipulation knows no bound. It is a work of art. Yes. But, Peter, now that you have succeeded in your work of art, what you're going to be able to do with it? Now that your man Friday is sitting down in the seat of the Director of Corruption Prosecution for another 90 days or so, what are you going to be able to do? Because now that everybody knows, and believe me, you're supposed to know that when we talk, Karen, myself, and Natalie, when we talk, a whole heap of people in Jamaica listen, and then be watching, and then be waiting with them popcorn and Pepsi to see what it is that your man Friday thinks he can do. Yes, in the face of the whole scheme being exposed by the resistance, tell Ranif Lawrence to go ahead and carry out his end of the bargain. Don't be shy and don't be afraid. And Peter, be careful. Be careful, Peter. Be careful. You're supposed to be old enough to remember those heady old days. The People's National Party and the Jamaica Labour Party going at it. Right? They have people in both parties not very nice. Not very nice at all. Be careful, Peter. The thing may not go according to what you think. Yes, there are desperate times and your money look like it won't go down the drain because that numbskull, that imbecile that you got take put in the seat, talk about him a president of the PNP, him can't even carry a message. He's supposed to be bright, but he cannot even carry a message. Him now win no election in Jamaica, and you know it. The amount of ammunition that them Labour Party have, I don't know how they're going to select what them are going to advertise, but I guess they will have the money for it when the election campaign come. And desperate times calls for desperate measure. And this scheme of yours, this well-planned orchestration to get rid of the Director of Corruption Prosecution in order to bring about what you were hoping would have been a master stroke of no mean order, how are you going to be able to put it into place now? How are you going to be able to put it into place and survive? The people in South Manchester, knowing that you're the one behind it, will not vote for you. Your political career will be over. Not that you have any. And that very tactical mistake that you made at your conference when you got to talk about the many places that you visited, that was supposed to mean something. That was supposed to send a signal. But for me, that was a tactical error on your part, because now all your opponent need do is to walk back you to every one of those communities. And I dare say, if he can match you in seeing all of those people, then both of you will be on level turf. And if you had only kept your mouth shut, which you're so boastful you can't seem to help yourself, then you would have an advantage. But like your general secretary, to uno suffer from verbal diarrhea, uno talk too much. And now your opponent now knows how to defeat you, imbecile. So What you're going to do now? How much money did it cost you, this scheme? I mean, it seems to me that if Greg Christie is not a part of it, and it is quite possible that he's not a part of it, although I suspect he is very much a part of it, but you would have had to pay some good money to be able to manipulate the information out of him that you needed so you can bring about your Machiavellian master stroke of no mean order. How much money it cost you? Asked Peter. And how much that now you spend now? You're supposed to reach about $2 billion, you know. You're costing you $300 and something billion. Them risers and yam you out of house and land. Congratulations to them. Keep it up, girls and boys. Keep it up. Keep it up. You are Jamaica's public enemy number one. And the government of Jamaica needs to start to pay attention to you. And if they continue not to pay attention to you, then whatever happens to this country, it will be their fault. Because the signs are there that you are a traitor. Traitor to the people of this country. And you will do anything at all. In the quest of power, you'll destroy anything. You'll bring down anybody to have your way. And you will not have it. Because we know the resistance. We are onto you. George has information and he's between a rock and a hard place. There's not a damn thing he can do with it. He don't know what to do with it. And so he will do nothing but drop hints. But that is all right. We will talk and tell the people of this country what in our view we think is going on. Right? Go ahead, Peter Bunting, and make your move. And let us all watch the outcome. Because I suspect that you may miscalculate and the outcome may not be what you intended to be. Especially now that the whole country knows what it is they are to look out for. Why Kamika was removed from her position and replaced with Ronif Lawrence. The business people, big and small alike, will know. And so will the laborites, and so will the comrades. And those who are neither comrades or laborites, them all a watch for your next move, Peter Bunting. And I will say to those business people by way of advice, if you want to put an end to this evil man and his crony Mark Golding and get them out of the People's National Party and out of politics altogether, do not in any circumstances give the People's National Party any money, not even $1, as long as they remain there. Them said there's a recession, tell them that there's a recession and you know the money. Do not in any circumstances give them a penny. And when they see them can't get the money and them can't win the election, they will bail. And when them bail, somebody else will take over and try and see if them can do something and get some seats in the house. So go ahead, my friend, and carry out a diabolical plot and let us watch the outcome. Well, folks, that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for joining me, for sharing, liking, subscribing, and leaving your comments in the comments section. Until next time, take very good care of yourselves and walk good.